Buckle up, everyone, because today we are diving headfirst into the wild world of Bitcoin.
Wild is right. And thankfully, we've got a recent article here that's going to be our guide. Think of it as like a snapshot of Bitcoin right now.
Exactly. We're talking about the price surges that make your head spin, the major players making some really interesting moves, and even some seriously bold predictions about, where Bitcoin might be headed next.
Yeah, and what's really got me hooked on this article is it captures Bitcoin at this like pivotal moment. We're seeing this incredible momentum, but then also those reminders that, hey, this is crypto, there's still volatility, and there are definitely risks involved.
Absolutely. And speaking of momentum, let's talk about this price surge because Bitcoin is hanging out above $66,000, which is, I don't know about you, but it's pretty mind-blowing to me. So can you break down for us what's the significance of breaking through this price barrier?
Sure, it's definitely a psychological barrier as much as it is a financial one. You know, when Bitcoin blasts through to a new all-time high like this, it's like everyone sits up and takes notice. Plus, you got to factor in the historical context here. Q4, it's like Bitcoin's time to shine. It's historically been a strong period for Bitcoin. So this surge, this could be a sign of even bigger gains on the horizon.
So the market's feeling bullish. I like it. And then on top of that, we've got this tidal wave of money just pouring into Bitcoin ETFs. I mean, $1 billion, over $1 billion in a single week. It's incredible. It seems like everyone and their grandma is trying to get a piece of this Bitcoin pie.
Yeah, and I think the key thing here isn't just the amount, but who's doing the investing, right? We're talking about these big institutional players, like BlackRock, for example. We all know BlackRock. They manage trillions with a T, trillions of dollars, and they're scooping up Bitcoin through these ETFs. That's not nothing, and that sends a huge signal to the market, basically shouting from the rooftops that Bitcoin is not just a fad, it's here to stay.
Yeah, they're putting their money where their mouth is, that's for sure. And it's not like they're just dipping their toes in the water either. I mean, the article mentioned that some of these ETFs are actually, get this, approaching the estimated holdings of Satoshi Nakamoto. Bitcoin's mysterious creator. I mean, come on, that's huge, right?
Huge is an understatement. I mean,
Yeah.
it really drives home this idea that institutional interest in Bitcoin is catching up, and quickly, to even the earliest adopters. Like, it really makes you wonder how this whole shift in the ownership landscape, how that's going to play out in the long run.
Right, and speaking of shifting landscapes, we got to talk about this whole FTX saga because the article dives into that, and it's a mixed bag to say the least. On one hand, you've got these creditors who are unfortunately only looking at getting 10 to 25% of their money back.
Yeah, that's the harsh reality. And it's a stark reminder that, look, as exciting as crypto can be, there are real risks involved. The collapse of FTX, that was a massive loss for a lot of people. And it's those folks who held their assets on the exchange that are really facing the brunt of it.
Definitely a tough lesson, right? Doing your due diligence, understanding what you're getting into, it's more important than ever. But here's where it gets kind of strange, because on the other hand, the article mentions that the FTX token, FTT, it's actually going up. What's the deal with that?
It's a classic example of market speculation at play.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. You've got all this controversy. The company behind FTT is basically finished, and yet some traders are still seeing this weird opportunity for a short-term gain. It's the definition of high risk, high reward.
So yeah, a lot of uncertainty still swirling around FTX, that's for sure. But let's shift gears a bit and talk about the bigger picture, because this article highlights some pretty bold, really bold predictions about the future of Bitcoin. Like Michael Saylor, he's out there saying that 99% of all Bitcoin will be mined by 2035.
Okay, so that's a super interesting point because it really underscores this whole concept of scarcity, right?
Yeah.
Like, we all know Bitcoin has a fixed supply, 21 million coins, that's it. So the closer we get to that limit, the scarcer and likely more valuable each Bitcoin becomes. That's a fundamental difference between Bitcoin and, let's say, gold, where you can always mine more.
So the clock is ticking if you're on the fence about Bitcoin, it sounds like. And it gets even wilder because Samson Mow, he's out there predicting Bitcoin will hit, wait for it, $1 million. So what's the logic? What's the thinking behind a prediction that massive?
Right, well, Mo's prediction is based on a few things converging. Like we talked about, scarcity is a big one, but there's also this steadily increasing demand, and a lot of that's coming from these institutional investors. Plus, you can't forget about the upcoming Bitcoin halving event. That's going to cut the rate of new Bitcoin being created in half, literally, and boom, you've got a recipe for potential price explosions.
$1 million Bitcoin, whether that happens or not, it's definitely exciting to think about. And the article also touches on the broader crypto market for a second, giving a shout out to some altcoins that are, doing pretty well right now.
It's crucial to remember that Bitcoin doesn't exist in a vacuum, right? I mean, it's the big dog, the most established cryptocurrency for sure. But there are other players in the space who are making waves. Solana, XRP, those are just a couple of examples, both seeing some positive momentum. And that just goes to show you that the whole crypto space is growing, it's innovating, and it's definitely one to watch.
It's a lot to keep track of, that's for sure. But I think the key takeaway here is that understanding the forces at play, that's crucial. Whether you're already all in on Bitcoin or if you're just, starting to dip your toes into the crypto waters, what do you think?
Absolutely. And I think the biggest question this all raises is, as more of this institutional money flows in, as Bitcoin gets scarcer, how will that impact its value? Could we see Bitcoin actually reshape traditional finance as we know it? It's certainly something to ponder.
A lot to ponder indeed, and if you're looking to dive even deeper into the current start of Bitcoin, we got you covered. Be sure to check out the full article. We'll link it up in the show notes. And until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, because the world of Bitcoin, well, it's not slowing down anytime soon.
Not even close.
Catch you all in the next one.